stay cool.
Okay, Jay Fallon, and this is the Slippery Slope. Now if you're watching this or listening on the podcast for Spotify, Apple, all that kind of stuff, I just posted an episode that I'd actually done at the end of June, and the episode talks about how Victoria Police want access to your home CCTV. Now, so I just put that up because I'd only put that episode up on YouTube because I felt it was primarily what I do is what I have been doing is I've been putting more of my police related episodes just up on YouTube because I seem to have a couple of different audiences on the podcast, Spotify, Apple, all that kind of stuff, and a different group on YouTube. And then even YouTube seems to have split. I've got all these people that just want to hear police stuff, and then people that want to hear other stuff. So I've been trying to kind of separate content. Anyway, so but I realized I needed to put this episode, Victoria Police want access to your home CCTV. I need to put that up on the podcast as well because it occurs to me, well, this might just be, maybe it's going to sound like a bit of a conspiracy theory, but I was looking at and thinking about some of the episodes that I've done, different episodes that I've done the last couple of months. I thought there seems to me to be something going on here in Australia where we've got this bit of a convergence. We've got all these different things happening in different states and territories, and it seems like we're slowly giving over, not slowly in some cases, but citizens, Australians are just giving over more and more power, more and more authority to the government, to government agencies. That's what it seems like, and it doesn't seem like it seems. And this is why I'm going to try and stick very much to the subject because when I was going over this and working out what I wanted to say, I kept going thinking, man, there's so many different tangents I want to go on. But I wanted to have a look at a couple of specific episodes and explain why I feel like something's happening in Australia, and are we taking note to what's going on? Are we taking notice of what's going on? Do you think this is actually happening? Because in the background, if you look at the macro of everything, in the background, you've got this government and this larger bureaucracy who seem to be very much against freedom of thought, freedom of speech, and I did an episode on that too, and how we've got this tyrannical bureaucracy, and and they even tried to tie down or stifle free speech coming out of the United States when it came to like Donald Trump and that in the election. That was the what's it called, the E-Safety Commissioner. So that's been linked to a global attempt to throttle free speech, and it seems. So I'm just looking at it thinking, trying to wrap my head around what is actually happening in Australia. Am I just being, conspiratorial? I do like a good theory. Some of them I find a bit funny, but this I was looking and thinking this to me seems a little serious. So I'm going to just bring up some previous episodes I had. I want to bring up just the titles and that. So if you're watching on video, you can see what I'm actually talking about. I was going to bring up the episodes that I posted on the Buy Me a Coffee episode platform. Also, with that episode that I brought up about the CCTV, Victorian Police wanting access to your private closed circuit television, that when it comes to what do you call it, Spotify and Apple and all that, I've put it under subscription only because I've moved more into working. So I'm working for myself now and doing this more as a full-time gig. All the online work and some other things that I do for myself, I'm doing this full time. So I've had to move more into subscriptions and earning money in other ways online and some other things that I do. So I am going to be putting some more things on when it comes to my podcast on subscription with Spotify and that. But my subscriptions are only 99 cents a month, and I'm not gonna raise it or anything like that. I would much rather just have more people subscribing rather than try and get the money by making it whatever. And I'm going to be putting a lot more out. Trying to put more specific things out for Spotify and this kind of thing. So that's why that episode's on there as subscription only, or you can view it on YouTube. But the thing is, YouTube is monetized, so that's why it's either or. Anyway, let's get into this. So first, I want to go back to this episode that I put out in May. Okay, where New South Wales, the headline was police admit to unlawful strip search. So this was to do with New South Wales police. So a few years ago, there was a concert, a music festival. Sorry, not just a concert, a festival. New South Wales police had been conducting strip searches on people who were attending the concert. So there was one particular person who led the lawsuit against them, saying that it was unlawful, and what happened to her was unlawful. They stripped her down completely naked. There was actually a male officer who walked into the tent at the same time while she was in there. The things that they made her do were, in my mind, were fairly barbaric. It's pretty pathetic, really. But then when they decided to bring a lawsuit against New South Wales police, they denied all of the actions. They were gaslighting the people who they'd done this to. They completely denied that they'd done it. They said none of this had actually happened. There was no male officer. These other things that had happened, they hadn't stripped them down and searched them in the way that they described it. They'd let this hang over their head for, well over a year. I think it was actually 2 years or so. And then they come out just before it all goes to court. Oh, and they also said that they had all this evidence. They had all these witness statements refuting the victims' statements and the accusations. And then just before it all goes to court, they come out and say, well, actually, yeah, we don't have any evidence to offer. They have to pull the case. They admitted to what they had done. They admitted that it was unlawful. Yeah. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is disgraceful, what New South Wales police done. But the fact that they've just been gaslighting all these people, these poor victims, they are victims, for such a long period of time and saying, hey, no, you've got to believe us. We're the government. We're not lying. How would we? We'd never lie to you about these kinds of things. We would never strip search people in this kind of circumstance. Yeah, and yet they did. And then they come and admit it at a later time frame. And it's like, well, we'll admit to everything. Now let's just move on. And I was just looking at it thinking, well, the way you can take away people's rights at that instance and then hide behind the law and then deny that you've done anything wrong for all those years, and then right at the last minute before it goes to trial, then it's like, oh, okay, admit everything, and then just try and brush past it, try and brush it all under the carpet and move on. Absolutely despicable. But I was thinking, okay, so this is our, from our largest state, as in by population, New South Wales, and where Sydney is located, obviously our biggest city, and also Canberra, which is a territory on its own, but it's also located in the midst of New South Wales. So New South Wales is very important, and it really shapes the rest of the nation with a lot of the actions that it takes. I thought it's disgusting what they've done and the way they have tried to gaslight these people and the citizens of Australia as a whole. Absolutely pathetic. I thought, but where are we going where a government body, a police service can just blatantly lie and deny the truth, deny their actions, and then never be held accountable for it? So I thought, okay, it's interesting. I wanted to report on it because I wanted people to see what's going on And the more people know about it and talk about it, the more likely it is that they'll be held accountable. Anyway, but I've been thinking about some other things. They've also been talking about, obviously. So in Queensland, you've got that going on in New South Wales. They're denying the rights for people going to a concert and strip searching them, treating them like animals. Then you've got here in Queensland. I've done this episode. First they came for the homeless. Australia turns us back on human rights, this kind of thing. This is happening all over the place. So we've had Queensland councils have been moving on homeless people. Now, I understand why they're doing it in some ways and how they're trying to clean up areas. However, they've been coming along. They'll send out notices, threaten these people with fines. These people are homeless. They don't have a lot of things. They don't have a lot of money. That's why they're homeless. And then you go and threaten them with fines, make all these threats against them. Then you come along and they gave the people very limited time to move up, pack up their stuff, and then they throw out their goods. And it wasn't just like rubbish paper or things like that they got going on. They were throwing out valuable items belonging to these people. Looking at some of these people and the reports that came out, what was thrown out for them. Some people lost pictures. One lady says they lost their air conditioner. Their tents were all thrown out. A couple were talking about how their daughters, I think it was their daughters' ashes were thrown out. Just completely disregarding the human rights of people and treating the homeless, people who are already down on their luck, just treating them like trash and, yeah, disregarding human rights altogether. And now it looks like they're going to be going to court because of this action, but they're still justifying their action, saying, "Well, we treated them with dignity and we gave them notice and all this thing." Well, on the face of it, and looking at some of the footage and the reporting that's gone on, it doesn't really look like you've treated people with dignity or anything like that, to be honest. Anyway, so this was mainly in Queensland. This is happening. So back to New South Wales. Police harass street preacher in Australia. And we've seen this coming along for a while now, where it's getting harder and harder. If you're a Christian, a Bible believing Christian, and you would want to talk about your faith out in the open, it is getting more and more likely that you'll get arrested for speaking about your faith, speaking about the Lord Jesus Christ. You will be harassed, and so often, just it's all these private security companies. So in this instance, the Sydney Opera House, they've got their private security in there that go and monitor the area where they're located and go and talk to people if there's security issues. But you get these private security firms that come and harass the street preachers, and then they'll go and call in the police, and the police are trying to negotiate and try. But the private security really dictate what's happening, and then they just get the police in as a bit of a show of force to come and back them up, because the private security know they don't really have a lot of powers, and they can't go. They want to be careful about going hands on, especially when, well, in this case, they were being filmed what they were doing, so they don't really want to go hands on. Nothing wants to get physical, so they want to go and bring in police and try and apply pressure to get to intimidate these people, really. And which is funny, because I was thinking this is a similar thing that happened with the people who were getting kicked out, the homeless people that were getting kicked out by the councils. They've got their own private security that they bring in. They're the ones that do all the work and all the intimidation. But then they also get the police in there as backup to back them up in their lawful duties, in a lawful manner, to come and oversee something. So to just really enforce that intimidation that they're trying to apply. So I've been thinking about that, and I thought, mate, this harassment to homeless people, and then, this harassing the street preacher down Sydney, and it's just harder. You've also got the other laws that come in with the LGBT movement, indoctrination, and then, if you talk about it in church, if someone comes up and they want to discuss it with a pastor, maybe get prayer or this kind of thing in church, well, then the pastor now, I think it's in every state now, the pastor is actually going to be risking a jail sentence. If that person or someone else is there and they make a complaint to the police, they will be answering questions to the police because they are trying to, uh, trying to, well, what do you say? Trying to turn the person from what the law now would classify as their natural. Can I say that? As then, if the person's homosexual, well, you can't be seen as telling them that their sexual identity is not right. You can't be talking to them about that. You can't be giving them, even if they've come to you for advice, you can't, the way I've read it, you can't advise people that their actions or their desires can be changed. And pastors are running the risk of facing criminal charges. So I was thinking about all these things. Then I was thinking about, mate, and then we've got this story that I did that I was talking about just the other day, how in Canberra, the ACT, Australian Capital Territory. So that's if you're from overseas, when something in Australia is referred to as the ACT or Australian Capital Territory, that's Canberra, where our Parliament House is, our capital. So this story here, the government, as in the ACT, mandates human contact for dog owners. I just thought, wow, it amazed me how they would even contemplate giving themselves, or they think that they have this kind of authority that they can dictate to the citizens that you must spend X amount of time with the animal who that lives with you, with your pet. I love my dog. Absolutely love my dog. But it just seems very strange that the government, it's like they're just really, again, just really in there. The government is in there just pushing boundaries, just pushing the boundaries. And this is why I wanted to get back over to this other story that I talked about in the end of it was actually the end of June when I first put it up there and just on YouTube. Victorian police want access to your home CCTV. Now they're saying, I'll read this part, a groundbreaking new proposal is being advanced in Victoria that could allow police to remotely access home and business security camera footage. A move expected to save more than 1 million policing hours and up to 200 million annually. And I said, what could possibly go wrong with that? But I was thinking about this, putting on my former police brain, thinking, how do police think? How would I be thinking about this? Because you always, in my mind, you always think about these things in context when you get new legislation coming in, new laws, and it's always like, well, how can I use these laws to benefit me if I'm investigating a crime, possible possible offences? Is this something that can be used? And when you're investigating someone, you're going and looking up all the even all the things, all the laws that aren't really that well known, all the bits of legislation that help support where it is. This is what I want to achieve. I want to be able to achieve this in my investigation, this outcome. So, is there legislation that supports me taking some different actions so I can get to this outcome, so I can prove that this person is a drug dealer or a whatever crime we're investigating? Can I use this? Is this something that's in the tool belt that I can use? And I was just thinking, Victorian police, they want to access, So this will be, them trialing it, and the rest of the nation, if it all goes ahead, the rest of the nation will be like other police jurisdictions in Australia, be going, oh, that worked in Victoria, we're going to be able to bring it in here. It'll be in every state if this all goes ahead in Victoria. The ACT, well, they've trialed whether they can dictate how many hours you spend with your dog. The question is, How are they going to monitor it? How are they going to police it? How are they going to police it? Well, if they're allowed to access your CCTV, at the moment it would be, think about this from a policing perspective, okay? At the moment, if this goes ahead with Victorian police wanting access to your CCTV, you would have to give permission for them to access your closed circuit television. Maybe, maybe if there's a law that's been passed, legislation that's been passed all throughout the land that mandates that human contact for dog owners, and then the police from if you're a police officer, you'd be like, you know what, this guy is I think he's a whatever, he's a criminal of some sort. He's not going to allow me to check out his CCTV to have access to it. But he also owns a dog. I could go through, maybe I could use this other obscure, weird little piece of legislation to go through and say, well, hey judge, can you give me, can you give me a warrant so I can access his CCTV without him knowing? We can hack into it. I can access that, and he's also got a dog, so I have to monitor it. Or maybe, well, I don't even have to go to the judge because of this new piece of legislation. This will be the reasoning that I use. If it comes out later that I've accessed his CCTV, I can justify it by saying, yeah, well, he had a dog, so I had to. We just got into his CCTV. And we used that because we were watching his dog. And at the same time, we were keeping track of his movements in the house and watching his comings and goings. And it saved us having a surveillance team in the area constantly because he's a dangerous drug dealer. So we just use this other little piece of legislation to get access. That's the way I'd be thinking. Or, if you use all these things together, we're slowly losing our rights and our freedoms in Australia, and no one seems to be taking any notice. And then all the while in the background, we have the e-safety commissioner. So all of these things are kind of going on in the background. Homeless people, no one cares about their human rights. Councils are pushing legislation through, trying to or pushing the boundaries on human rights for homeless people. In Queensland, we've got, the state government's pushing the boundaries for human rights for children. And we've got these children who are committing crimes, and people want them, adult crime, adult time. But then the government's using that excuse to just smash their way through human rights. And then people go along with it because they're like, yeah, okay, but we want crime stopped. And the government's saying, well, yeah, okay, you want crime stopped, so don't worry about what we're doing. Don't worry about the fact that we're smashing through, pushing over, we're neglecting human rights for young children. Don't worry about that. We'll just keep passing legislation, making things so that we can protect you. But in actual fact, all they're doing is taking away more and more freedoms from us. They're taking away more freedoms from all children when they're doing these things. When they're coming along and pushing the homeless out, and then taking away all their valuables and just chucking them in the dump. What's going to stop them if they don't have to worry about the human rights of them? Nothing. They don't have to worry about your human rights when they decide, hey, we don't like this person, or they're putting something up online that we don't like. We can go through their stuff and we can just throw that out in the rubbish as well. It just keeps snowballing. If the street preacher can't preach on the street, if the preacher can't preach in church about LGBT issues, they just keep pushing and pushing the boundaries further. And then they've got this legislation coming through saying, well, you have to look after your dog. Spend 3 hours. How are they going to police that you are physically spending 3 hours with your dog? they have to be able to access your home CCTV. And you say, well, I haven't got CCTV. Oh, well, if you have a dog, you're going to have to get CCTV so we can monitor you. And then the whole time in the background, Australia has the e-safety commissioner linked to global attempt to throttle free speech. So alleged links between Julie Inman Grant, that's our very personal e-safety commissioner, born in America, mind you, for whatever reason we imported her, as she is officially known, and a shadowy. So you got these links between her, our e-safety commissioner, our e-safety commission, and this shadowy US-based online advertising cabal, which a US House Judiciary Committee interim report says set out to throttle advertising dollars from websites and social media platforms, particularly Elon Musk's Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it now, and that dared to allow free speech and conservative ideas to flourish. When I was talking about this, part of it all was too. They were also monitoring and trying to thwart Donald Trump against the American election, trying to prevent him from getting in. And you look at some of the things that she stands for, this commission stands for. It's, oh, we don't have enough time to get into it all, but you need to look into what they actually stand for. It's absolutely disgusting, the things that they want, the things that they will stand up for. They are completely against anyone talking up against the dangers of the, colourful community and the dangers that presents to our children, but completely supportive of all other ideologies that would be harmful, that normal everyday parents would realize is harmful to children. They are supportive of those things. That's what she is supportive of. And so I've just been thinking all these things that are going on in the background, the councils, what they're doing, the state government's trying to push these mandates with the dogs, the Victorian police trying to get into CCTV. Everything's converging, everything's coming together. Everyone's trying to do all these things that take away little bits of our freedom all over the place. And in the background, you've got this major federal bureaucracy which doesn't just support it, which is physically attempting to stifle free speech. But there's all these things that have been happening, I think, for the last since the 2019 happened. There's all these things that have been happening since then in Australia, where it seems like we're the test case for the Western world into how to manipulate and control a population, and how to slowly just take away people's freedoms and see if anyone notices it. We're the test case. This is how you do it. This is how you stifle free speech. This is how you take away people's freedoms. This is how you do all of these things. This is how you destroy a country. And this is how you do it. And this is, if you follow this model, we're testing it all on Australia and Australians. And if this goes ahead, well, then we can try it in bigger countries. Australians have been duped into just thinking about the economy, just thinking about all the money that we make. Let's not worry about all these other things that are happening. Let's just bury our heads in the sand. As long as you're making your, six-figure salaries, it's all good. Don't worry about all these things that the government's doing in the background. Just ignore that. Just keep running along, trying to make money. Don't worry about our large Asian neighbors that may be trying to do other things. Just concern yourself with money. Turn your back on God. Don't really worry about God, or try and have a God that just supports you making money and getting rich. That's all you have to worry about. If you want to serve God, that's all good, but just worry about a God that encourages you to make a good business and get rich, because that's what life's all about. When what's the phrase? What was that book? Living Your Best Life Now, which unfortunately I know Christians that actually like that fella and would go along with that book. I think we're being duped. I think Australians are being duped. I think it's dangerous with what our councils, our local governments, our state governments are doing, the freedoms that they're taking away. And then in the background, you got this big bureaucracy like the E-Safety Commission, which supports the ideas, the ideology of throttling free speech because, and they're dangerous because they're there because our government put them in. If you're an Australian, you got to stop burying your head in the sand and telling yourself that everything is a-okay. And I think you need to read your Bible and get back to the God of the Bible. Hey, this is all my opinion. Let me know if you think this is just a weird, this is just me worrying about nothing. What do you think? Do you think maybe there is something going on in the background? Let me know what you think. My name's Jay Fallon. This is The Slippery Slope. Like I said, please, if you can, subscribe to what is it called? Spotify or Apple or wherever you listen to it. Um, and check out my music if you get a chance to. My name's Jay Fallon, and thanks for listening to The Slippery Slope.
They just fuel a desire that will take me higher. I'm on fire because nothing's going